If God see anything lie nearer our hearts than himself, he will scorn us and our services. If therefore you would be accepted, quote, out with your idols, unquote, cast out the love of sin out of your hearts, and be upright with your God in this holy undertaking. It is the main qualification in the text, quote, they shall inquire the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, unquote. That is, in sincerity, with uprightness of spirit, with the full set and bent of their souls. As it is said of Christ, when he went up to his passion. Quote, he steadfastly set his face to go up to Jerusalem, unquote. He went with all his heart to be crucified, with a strong bent of spirit. Behold, we are not going to, quote, crucifying work, unquote, unless it be to crucify the flesh with our affections and lusts, but to marriage work, quote, to join ourselves to the Lord in an everlasting covenant, unquote. Let us do it, quote, with our faces Zionward, unquote. Yea, let us steadfastly set our faces Reformationward, and heavenward, and Godward, and Christward, with whom we enter covenant this day. A man may inquire the way to Zion with his face towards Babylon. A people or person may enter covenant with God with their hearts Romeward, and earthward, and sinward, and hellward. Friends, look to your hearts. Quote, peradventure, said Jacob, my father will feel me, and I shall seem to him as one that mocks, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. Unquote. Without all peradventure, may we say, our Father will feel us, for he searcheth all hearts, and understandeth the imagination of the thoughts. If we be found as they that mock, showing much love with our mouths, while our hearts are far from him, he shall bring a curse upon ourselves, yea, and upon the kingdoms also, and not a blessing. It is reported to the honor of Judah, in the day of their covenanting with their God, quote, they had sworn with all their heart and with all their desire, unquote. And their success was answerable to their sincerity. For so it follows, quote, and the Lord was found of them, and gave them rest round about, unquote. Oh, that this might be our honor and happiness in this day of our lifting up of our hands to the Most High God, that God might not see in us a double heart, a heart and an heart, as the Hebrews expressed it. That is, one heart for God, and another for our idols. One heart for Christ, and another for Antichrist. But he might see us a single, upright-hearted people, without base mixtures and composition, for he loves truth, that is, sincerity in the inward parts, that he, finding such sincerity as he looks for, we also might find such success as we look for, safety and deliverance to both the nations, yea, that both in respect of our sincerity and success, that might be made good upon us, and that is spoken to the eternal honor of that good king, Hezekiah, quote, and in every work that he began in the service of the house of God, and in the law, and in the commandments to seek his God, he did it with all his heart, and prospered, unquote. Universal sincerity is accompanied with universal prosperity. In all he did, he was upright, and in all he did, he prospered. Brethren, whatever you want, be sure you want not sincerity. Let God see you fully set in your hearts to take all from sin, and to give all to Jesus Christ. Methinks I hear God saying unto us, quote, according to your uprightness, so be it unto you, unquote. In the fourth place, if you would be accepted by God in this holy service, labor to make God your end. It is your pattern in the text, quote, they shall go and seek the Lord, unquote. It was not now, quote, howling upon their beds for corn and wine, unquote, as formerly, of which God says, quote, they cried not unto me, unquote. That is, they did not make God the end of their prayers, as elsewhere God tells them. Quote, when ye fasted and mourned in the 5th and 7th month, even those 70 years, did you fast to me, even unto me, unquote. In 70 years they kept 70 fasts in Babylon, and yet, amongst them all, they kept not one day unto God. For though the duty looked upon God, they that did the duty did not look upon God. That is, they did not set up God as their chief end in fasting and prayer. They mourned not so much for their sin as for their captivity, or, if for their sin, they mourned for it not so much as God's dishonor, as the cause of their captivity. They were not troubled so much that they had by their sins walked contrary to God, as that God by his judgments had, quote, walked contrary to them, unquote. They fasted and prayed rather to get off their chains than to get off their sins, to get rid of the bondage of the Babylonians than to get rid of the servitude of their own base lusts. But now, blessed be God, it was otherwise. Quote, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together, unquote. To what end? Quote, they shall seek the Lord, unquote. That is, They shall seek God for himself, and not only for themselves, quote, going and weeping. Why? Not so much that he hath offended them, as that they have offended him. For their sins more than for their punishments. So it is more distinctly reported, quote, a voice was heard upon the high places, weeping and supplications of the children of Israel, because they have perverted their way, and have forsaken the Lord their God, unquote. They had forgotten God before, not only in their sins, but in their duties. They cried not to me, they fasted not to me, not at all unto me, unquote. But now they remember the Lord their God, they seek his face, they labor to atone him, yea, they seek him to be their Lord as well as their Savior, to govern them as well as to deliver them. Quote, they ask the way to Zion, unquote. They require as well and more how they should serve him as that he should save them. Quote, the Lord is our judge, the Lord is our lawgiver, the Lord is our king, he will save us. Unquote. Beloved Christians, let us write after this copy, and in this great business we have in hand, let us seek God, and seek him as a fountain of holiness, as well as a fountain of happiness. Take we heed of those base, low, dunghill ends, which prevailed upon the Shechemites, to enter into covenant with the God of the Hebrews, quote, shall not their cattle and substance be ours, unquote. Let the two nations and every soul in both the nations that lift up the hand to the Most High God, in this holy league and covenant, take heed of and abhor such unworthy thoughts, if they should be crowding in upon this service, and say unto them, as once Christ to Peter, quote, get thee behind me, Satan. Thou savorest not the things that be of God, but the things that be of men, unquote. You may remember how it fared with Hamor and his son Shechem, and their people, to whom they propounded these base ends. God did not only disappoint them of their ends, but destroyed them for them. Their aims were to get the Hebrews' substance and cattle, but they lost their own, with lives to boot. Quote, for it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore, 2 of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, came upon the city boldly and slew all the males. And the sons of Jacob came upon the slain and spoiled the city. They took their sheep and their oxen and all their wealth, unquote. A most horrid and bloody treachery and cruelty in them, which stands as a brand of infamy upon their foreheads to this day, but a most just and righteous censure from God, and a caution to all succeeding generations of prostituting heavenly and holy ordinances to earthly and sensual ends. Oh, let it be our, quote, admonition upon whom the ends of the world are come, to the end that we may not tempt God, as they also tempted, unquote. For if God so much abhorred and so severely punished these worldly respects in the men of the world, if God was so angry with poor, blind heathen, who had no other light for their guide but the glimmering light of nature, how will his anger not only kindle but flame in the avenging of such baseness upon Christians, a people of his own, who have the glorious light of the gospel of Jesus Christ, to discover to them higher and heavenly ends and references? So that such a kingdom, people, or person that should dare to bring such base carnal ends to so spiritual and divine a contract should be made a monument of the wrath and vengeance of divine justice, and while they propound to themselves safety, or riches, or greatness from such an excellent ordinance, God makes it by a strange but a righteous hand, an occasion of misery and ruin to them and their posterity, to many generations. Christians, labor to set up God in this day and duty wherein you engage yourselves so nigh unto him. And if you would have heavenly blessings, see that you propound and pursue heavenly ends and aims, lest, while you come to make a covenant with God, you commit idolatry against him. Whatsoever we make our ultimate and highest end, we make our God. If therefore you cannot make God your sole, your only end, yet be sure you make him your choicest, your chiefest end. Keep God in his own place, and let all self-respects whatsoever vail to his glory, according to that great rule, quote, whether you eat or drink or whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of God, unquote.